One thing that enables woodworkers to do quality work is the ability to hold things down, and that comes in the form of vices. Now, I had a comment the other day on one of my videos about my vices, and the person asked me to showcase what I have and why I have it. So I want to do that today. I'm going to go through each vise that I have, explain why I have it, what I use it for, and the drawbacks as well as the benefits. So stick around. So I use primarily 4 vices. I have a shoulder vise, an end vise, a quick release vise, and also this Parrot vise. Now, let's start with the shoulder vise. So this is my shoulder vise. It's on my Scandinavian bench. I have a normal shoulder vise screw with a piece of sen, which is a hardwood here in Japan, pretty much akin to oak. It's pretty smooth. I like the action on it. I have a threaded rod that goes through from here all the way into the bench, about up to here, to give it stability. And this is all maple, this is maple, and this is maple. The rest of my bench is red pine, if I remember correctly, and this is walnut over here. So it's very strong, very sturdy. This does not flex at all. Well, actually it flexes a little bit if I put a lot of pressure, but I don't use that much pressure. So what I use a shoulder vise primarily is for, number one, long boards. For example, this guy right here. The reason I love a shoulder vise is that you can put long things in here and it doesn't interfere with anything underneath the bench, and you can hold it perfectly. The other thing I use my shoulder vise for is to adjust drawers. And if you're going to be making a lot of drawers, then I recommend having a good shoulder vise with a wide mouth so that you can put the drawer in here, and then you slide a board over the top, and then you can clamp that down. And now you're perfect. Now you can plane away at the top and adjust all the dovetails, the joints, if you need to. I also use my shoulder vise for cutting dovetails, at least through dovetails, and I'll show you why. Through dovetails is fine, but when you go to cut half-blind dovetails, now this has a handle in it, I don't want to take off, so it's going to be higher than usual, but just to illustrate my point. Now I can cut the top of the dovetail. I mean, this is higher than I would want it anyway because the handle's in here, so I can't lower it. I'd usually have it about here, so I can cut the top, but as soon as I tilt down to cut the bottom part here, the arm of the vise gets in my way, which is why I use one of my other vices. Now, the other thing I use this shoulder vise for a lot is to joint the edges of boards, because it's at the perfect height and it allows me space to put very, very long boards in there. The only problem is if I'm trying to joint a piece of wood that is very thin, or not very wide rather, if I put it in the top to the point where I can actually plane the top, unfortunately the vise will rack. Now, easy solution is to put another piece of wood the same thickness underneath here so that it doesn't rack. Now, if you're looking for a more permanent solution, you can take one of these leg adjusters that you can buy at a hardware store. It's got a Phillips screw head in the back that makes it easier to adjust, and then you put that into the block for your vise. You want to countersink it so that this does not stick out when you're not using it, and then use a threaded insert so that you can adjust this back and forth, and that will allow you to adjust this, the bottom of the vise, so that it's the same thickness as whatever you're trying to hold in the top, and that will even out the vise and prevent the vise from racking. Now, the reason I have not done that is because if I have something really thin to hold, I prefer to use my quick release vise. This makes it a lot easier to hold things that are thin, and it holds it real tight. Perfect. You don't have to worry about anything. So that's why I have this. I have put 2 pieces of beech in here, attached them to the vise as vise faces, so that this is slightly above my bench, which enables me to put pieces in here and then plane them if necessary. I'm going from the wrong side here than usual, and this keeps everything away from the bench, and it's perfect. It's a nice sturdy vise, and I like the quick release function on this. Now, this is just a scrap piece of wood, but I wanted to show you one other thing that I use this vise for, and that is cutting half-blind dovetails. With the vise this way, it enables me to get in, cut the top, and then I can go down and go down and down and down and cut that bottom part. And that is something that I cannot do on my shoulder vise because the vise part gets in the way. Now I'd have to say, out of the 4 vices that I use, the main workhorse for me is my end vise. I use this for everything. I have holes in it for bench dogs so that I can hold pieces down in order to plane them or to make moldings, so that's indispensable. Then this is also offset from the leg of my bench, so it can hold really long boards like that guy. I can put that in there and I can work on the top. I can cut dovetails if I want. I also use this a lot when I am cleaning up dovetails after I've cut them, especially half blinds. This has a handle in it already, so I can only put it up really high, but I put it in here, and this allows me to get in to these corners to clean up the insides of these half blind dovetails. And also, with the way I have set it, I have my light here so that I can put a lot of light from any direction to be able to see what I'm doing. I love this. It was fairly hard to install just to get everything right so that this is flush with the top. I'll show you the inside. Let me take this off and I'll show you how it looks. So sorry, I lied. I'm not going to take this off because it's a real pain in the ass. But you can see that there's a plate here. It's a very thick, it's about a 1/4 inch thick steel plate that goes on the bench. And then you have to route out a groove behind the plate on both the top and the bottom, because on the other side of the vise there are runners that run along the top and the bottom of this plate. So that's why you need to have this area behind it all hollowed out. So that was a bit of a pain in the ass to do when I was making the bench, but I got it done and it works great. Now the other thing I did to make this end vise easier to use is I took a piece of steel pipe and then I cut off the knob from an old brace and I soldered it into the end of the pipe. And this allows me to adjust the vise very, very quickly because everything turns. So with these end vices, you got to be able to open it and close it fairly quickly, so that makes it a lot easier. And last but not least is my Parrot vise. Now I primarily use this for metal work when I'm cutting rods and stuff. It's just easier for me to use a hacksaw when it's up higher, and also I don't have to worry about cutting into my bench. And with the metal filings that you get from cutting metal, it goes on this bench and not my other woodworking bench, so I don't have to worry about getting little pieces of metal in the wood that I'm working on. And what I like about this is you can adjust it with this screw. You adjust the jaws so that it's fairly tight and you can move it around anyway, but once you put a piece of wood in and you tighten it up, then that pretty much tightens up the whole vise so it doesn't move. Now the cool thing about this Parrot vise is that you can take it off and you can flip it over so that it's vertical if you need to hold something vertical. I don't use it for that, and since I put the jaw plates on this quick release vise underneath it, it kind of gets in the way of this vise anyway. But I like the fact that you can take the vise off because I do have a table saw next to it, so if I need to cut a large or a long piece of wood, I have this height set so that if I take the vise off, the wood will then float over this part and I'll be able to cut it without being impeded by the vise. So aside from gambling and womanizing, those are my vices. Now I do have a leg vise on my Moravian bench outside, but I don't really use that, so I just omitted it from this video. I have to apologize for the editing. I said some things twice and sometimes in an awkward way because I was moving the camera around and I forgot what I said when I was talking about the other vices, but please excuse that. And hopefully that helps somebody if you're looking into getting a vise and are not sure what you really need or should buy. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.